بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear listeners, there are two types of states of impurity a Muslim can enter into, and they are major impurity and minor impurity. Every Muslim must know what they are and what entering these states entails. So let's talk about that which enters a Muslim into a state of major impurity. So there are 6 matters which cause a person to enter into a state of major impurity. The first of them is the ejaculation of semen if the individual is awake, and if it happens out of pleasure, or even if they're asleep and they didn't even feel it. If a person remembers a sexual dream but they don't find any evidence of any emission, then they are not in a major state of impurity and don't need to perform ghusl. And this is in the case of both the male and the female. Secondly, when a man enters his private part into a woman's private part, this enters both of them, the male and the female, into the state of major impurity. Thirdly, when a person becomes Muslim, they must perform ghusl. Fourthly, when a Muslim dies, the ghusl must be performed on them. Fifthly, postnatal bleeding. Sixthly, menstruation. All of these require ghusl. So how does a person perform ghusl? Firstly, we need to intend to raise ourselves from the state of impurity by having the correct niyyah. Secondly, we say Bismillah and we wash our hands 3 times. Thirdly, we wash our private parts. Fourthly, we do a complete wudhu. Fifthly, we pour water over our heads 3 times and ensure all the roots of the hair are wet. And sixthly, we pour water over the rest of the body and ensure that water reaches all the surface of the skin. This is the sunnah way of performing the ghusl. Alternatively, a person can perform ghusl by having the intention and then washing their whole body, for example in the shower, and then concluding by washing the mouth and the nostril as they would in wudhu. As for being in a minor state of impurity, this requires performing wudhu. Wudhu has its own conditions, its own obligations and sunan. As for the conditions and obligations, the validity of our wudhu depends on them. And as for the sunan acts, then they are not compulsory, but they perfect our wudu and earn us more reward if we perform them. So what are the conditions of wudu? These are actions that we must fulfill before our wudu even begins. And there are 8 conditions of wudu. Firstly, Islam. Wudu is only valid if the one performing it is a Muslim. Secondly, sanity. A person must be sane and in a conscious state of mind for their wudu to be accepted. Thirdly is age. A person must have developed a degree of intellect before their wudu is accepted. This is when they are aware of their surroundings and can have a constructive conversation around the age of 7, as we mentioned previously. Fourthly, intention. A person must intend to perform the wudu. And it can't be, for example, just something they're doing to cool themselves off. Fifthly, the water must be clean. As we mentioned before, the cleanliness of the water must be there. Sixthly, the water must have been lawfully procured and must belong to the person doing the wudu. If the water was stolen or forcefully taken, the wudu will not be valid. Seventhly, a person must have performed istinja. They must have cleaned themselves if they have relieved themselves prior to performing the wudu. Eighthly, a person must remove anything on the areas of wudu that will prevent water from reaching and touching the skin. As for the obligations of wudu, these are the very actions of wudu. So firstly, washing the face. This includes the mouth and the nostrils. The face goes up to the hairline and to the earlobes on the sides of the face and to the chin. If a person has a light beard, they must ensure water reaches the skin. If a person has a thick beard, they must ensure that water reaches the outside of that beard. Secondly is washing our arms from the fingertips all the way and including the elbows. Thirdly, wiping over the head till the ears. Fourthly, washing the feet until and including the ankles. Fifthly, to do all of these actions in order. And sixthly, to ensure that none of the parts are dry by the end of wudu. So what about the sunan of wudu? Well, there are 6 sunan of wudu that give us more reward and make our wudu more complete. Firstly is the siwak, to clean our mouth and teeth. This is done before we enter water into our mouth. Secondly, to wash the hands 3 times before we wash the face. Thirdly, to begin with entering water into the mouth and nostrils before we wash the face. Fourthly, to run our fingers through our beard if it is thick to get the water inside it. Also to run our fingers between themselves and between the toes to ensure water reaches those areas. Fifthly, to begin with the right before the left when we wash our hands, our arms and our feet. And sixthly, to wash the face, arms and feet 3 times. We must ensure that not a single part of our body remains dry, or else our wudu will not be accepted. We must also ensure that this does not lead us to waste water. And let us now talk about wiping over the socks. Allah has legislated for us that we may wipe over our socks instead of washing our feet in wudu, to make things easy for us. A non-traveler may wipe over his socks for a whole day. A traveler may wipe over his socks for 3 whole days. To be allowed to wipe over our socks, we must wear our socks once we have performed wudu. Once we have worn our socks and broken our wudu, our time for wiping over our socks has now begun. So what are the conditions for wiping over the socks? Firstly, a person must be in the state of tahara when he puts his socks on. Secondly, the socks must legally belong to us and must not be made of silk in the case of men. Thirdly, the socks must cover the whole of the foot, which means it must cover the ankles. This also means that the socks should not be too thin so that you can see the skin of the foot. And when we wipe over the socks, we simply wipe the top of the socks, the top of the foot. And when a person breaks their wudu, they are in the state of minor impurity. So what are the actions that break the wudu? Firstly, that which comes out of the private parts. This can be either urine, semen, pre-seminal fluid, non-menstrual blood, feces or gas. Secondly, that which comes out of the body other than the private parts, such as blood and vomit. There is a difference of opinion with regards to them, so it is good to do wudu in those cases to be on the safe side. Thirdly is losing sanity or consciousness. If someone falls into deep sleep or becomes unconscious, their wudu is broken. As for light sleep, then it does not break wudu. Fourthly, eating the meat of a camel. Fifthly, touching the private parts. Sixthly, washing the deceased. So what if we are not sure whether we broke our wudu or not? As long as our doubt is in whether we broke it and not whether we performed the wudu to begin with, we do not repeat our wudu, nor do we break our salah. If our doubt is in whether we performed wudu or not, and we are sure that we broke it, we must then perform wudu. So let us now have a look at a practical demonstration of the wudu. After washing our hands, we enter water into our mouth and inhale some into our nose, after which we rinse our mouth and exhale the water out of our nose. We then cup our hands together and wash our face, ensuring that the area all the way from the hairline to the earlobes and the chin is washed and water reaches all of the skin on the face. After this, we wash our arms. What is the area of the arm that needs to be washed? It is from the fingertips all the way and including the elbows. We ensure that the water has covered all of the skin in that area, and that enough water has made contact with the skin that the water drops off the skin. After this, we wipe over our heads from the hairline at the front all the way until the back hairline. We wipe over and wipe back, and then we wipe the inner and outer of our ears, and finally we wash our feet all the way and including the ankles, ensuring again that none of our skin is dry. And that is a practical demonstration of how to perform the wudu. وجزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.